We found, the last year that Vibe was a great opportunity for our candidates to get on TV. They're spending 80% of their budget
Yeah.
buying cable TV ads or from the major stations. Vibe certainly allows them to get on TV and spend, just a fraction of that price.
Okay. Good morning, Erik Robey. You are a political consultant who has run several campaigns with Vibe. And we're going to get into all the nitty gritty and the details of your campaigns. But first, if you could just give me an overview of what you do, where you're located, what it's been like being in business for you, and maybe a couple of business challenges that led you to seeking out streaming TV advertising.
Sure. So I'm just outside of DC and work in a market where we provide campaign services for candidates running for local and state offices. And essentially what we do is we're using all the great advertising tools that are out there, whether it's direct mail, text messaging, robocalls, in-person door-to-door contacts, and then of course the TV. So we provide those services for I've been in business for about 22 years now, and been involved with probably over 150 campaigns during that time frame. And we found, the last year that Vibe was a great opportunity for our candidates to get on TV, not have to spend, some races, local and state races, they're spending 80% of their budget
I know.
buying cable TV ads or from the major stations. Vibe certainly allows them to get on TV and spend, just a fraction of that price.
So was this your first foray into streaming TV advertising?
It was, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Since you were new to this, I'm curious, did you come in looking for a kind of a broad campaign, and then as insights came in, you were going to focus it in? Or did you have a clear, I'm aiming for web traffic? Like, what were
Mhm.
those kind of hard numbers you were really focused on and you wanted to hit on with these campaigns?
Politics is everybody says, "Oh, I'm in advertising. I know how to do political campaigns." Well, no, it's a different animal.
Hmm.
And the goal of these campaigns was essentially to both of the judge races, because that's what's actually taking place in Maryland right now. The goal of these campaigns were, they had already built up some name recognition. They built up some name ID. The goal is putting them on TV when a voter sees their candidate, that maybe they've seen their campaign sign, they've received a piece of mail from them. And then when they see them on TV, it's that aha moment, that moment where they're like, oh my gosh, this person's for real. They've got an amazing campaign because I saw them on TV. They came on after my favorite TV show.
Yeah, brand trust. It's funny because you were saying political campaigns are their own animal, which is absolutely true in a lot of ways. But this brand trust is definitely something we see across verticals, because
Mhm.
there's still, even though streaming TV advertising under the hood is a totally different animal, to viewers, it's still television. And there's still
Yeah.
that feeling of this, I can trust this candidate, this brand, because they, have the backing to actually be able to get on TV. So that's what I want to hear a little bit more about now, is like, you were looking for that trust. So I guess, was your goal more really just an awareness campaign? Were you looking at CPMs and reach
Mhm.
more than conversions? Like, what were you looking at when you were looking at your dashboard? What was the targeting like? What was the
Mhm.
platform like for you to use? Just a little bit more about that, your
Yeah.
experience using the platform.
So I got to tell you, the platform's fantastic. I can tell you that it just really gives, from a political campaign standpoint, when you're buying cable TV, which I did for years and years and years, you're buying kind of a region. So I may have a candidate that's just running in a certain district. Well, that district may only be 20% of the cable TV region that I'm buying. So 80% of the people seeing this commercial are just not going to be able to ever vote for this person. So we're just throwing that money away.
Hmm.
What this really gives me the ability to do is to target it by zip codes. And that's what we loved about it. It just gave us the ability to put all the zip codes in and say a county that one of my candidates was running for judge in. So we were actually, the ads were only going into those individuals that lived in those zip codes.
That's awesome. And so were you really focused on that primarily, or did you use things like, there is political affiliation targeting, I know, on the platform.
Mhm.
There's
Hmm.
also income, there's also profession. I wonder if you
Yeah.
leveraged any of those or if it was really geo for you.
We had a general ad that kind of went out to, the mass universe. So it went on all of the channels that we're able to get on through Vibe. But we also had a very targeted ad that was specific to Republicans that we ran on the History Channel, on Fox News,
Mhm.
on, News Nation, some of the stations that we know historically, 90% of the people watching these are registered Republicans. So we're delivering a specific message to them in a race that's, both of these were nonpartisan races. So, these individuals had to know, hey, oh, my candidate's on Fox News. They must be the Republican. So, oh,
Mhm.
geez, that's who I've got to vote for. So it's those little, fine points of a campaign that people miss sometimes because they're just focused on, I've got to get it out to everybody. Everybody's got to see who my
Mhm.
choice is for the Senate or my choice is for Congress.
Yeah.
No, we've got to target that, and Vibe gave us the ability to do that.
That's a good segue because I always like to hear about the creative development. Um, you have advertised on TV for a long time, so I'm sure it wasn't as scary for you. What
Yeah.
was that creative development process for you guys? For folks who are going to be watching this, maybe it's their first time advertising on TV and they're looking for, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't.
You got to capture them, and you've got like 15 seconds to capture them. So we were able to, at least on the one ad, is kind of make it a little more lighthearted, and somebody had called her the hammer judge, so I was going to use that to our advantage and make sure that all those voters realized, if you want somebody that's pro law and, pro lock up the criminals and get rid of the bad guys, here's who you want to pick. But you've got to be careful to say that because it's a judicial election. So we were able to say that because someone, going after them had made a stupid quote.
So you couldn't say it, but if you were
Hmm.
quoting someone else saying it,
Correct.
ha,
Yeah.
okay, that's interesting. So you ran these campaigns. You're looking at the dashboard. Tell me about some of the results. Did they win? Were you
Hmm.
excited by the reach? What was some of the data you were able to get that was interesting to you and that you think is worth noting?
Yeah, we were 2 out of 3. So three judges, 2 out of 3 were successful.
Okay.
And I can tell you that we were seeing the household numbers. That was my big concern, is I wanted
Okay.
to see, big numbers from the households, and we continued to see that, climb every day of the campaign. And then when we're looking at, the budget that we're spending, 2 to 3 cents, per ad, per reach, it definitely was a bigger bang for their buck. I can tell you, just just kudos to Vibe, and I guess the campaign as well. But I know our opponent spent $60,000 with another company
Wow.
doing digital advertising, and we pulled the race probably 5 months out. Our candidate was down by 12 points. When we actually got around to election day, we won on the Democrat side by 9 points. We won on the Republican side by 11 points. And, because we were polling quite frequently in this race, and we could see that, her numbers never really moved, using the digital ad strategy, going up on the local newspaper sites with a digital ad or buying Google ads. It just wasn't, we didn't see the return on the investment. We didn't see her numbers moving in the right direction. We moved our numbers 23 points. So we feel like the full strategy, by
Or
being part of that,
yeah.
made it work well for us.
Oh, fascinating. Well, that's wonderful and exciting to hear. Having used the platform, would you say that it truly is within reach of most advertisers to, in fact, at least try streaming TV advertising?
Easy to use, very inexpensive, and certainly is a great vehicle to deliver, a message, to put that message out there. And then when you combine that with everything else your campaign's doing, it's just we found it to be a really good fit.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. My last question is going to be simple yet complicated. What's next? What's next for you?
Hmm.
Do you have particularly challenging races coming up? I'm just curious what the future
Yeah.
holds. for you.
There's a few that we're working on right now, dealing on the development side,
Mhm.
housing development side. And,
Okay.
we're trying to work with some folks to, convince their community that one direction is the right way to go, not the other direction. So, we're looking at some opportunities there with Vibe to be able to put that campaign out again, specifically to a small town of maybe 10,000 people.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great to hear. The year is wrapping up. I'm sure you've got all kinds of stuff going on, so I'm gonna let you go, but I really,
Great.
really appreciate you taking the time.